I'm going to give you 5 harsh truths in this video that you're going to hate. But if you apply them all in the right order, you're going to save your marriage. In the very least, she'll be putting the wedding ring back on.
Just to clarify, she put the wedding ring back on after a month of your work.
Yeah,
Wow.
she did. Biggest win is I think I've regained her trust.
That's what this process creates. And I say hate because these truths, they kind of sting a bit at first, but much like putting alcohol on a bleeding wound, they will start the process of repair that you need to use to win her back. This means breaking old habits that keep you reactive, fearful, and uncertain to instead become the grounded man that she naturally wants to follow. And we're doing it through the rings framework. By the way, the 4th is where trust fully returns.
How do you know the trust has come back?
She told me.
Oh, she told you verbally. Hey, my trust has come back.
Yeah. I mean, that was probably the biggest sign for me.
Let's jump in. I want to tell you about one of my clients, Doug. When his wife took a summer road trip to visit their daughter, he wasn't expecting a bomb in his inbox. Not literally, especially not on the heels of their 20th anniversary.
On the 4th of July, I got the bomb email that she was wondering after 20 years of marriage, why is she still in this marriage? Kind of summarized pretty much everything I had done wrong, said wrong, a lot of arguments that we had had over the last 20 years,
Yeah.
and things that I thought were long since dead, buried, and gone away, kind of came back to life. And I mean, she was really seriously upset and genuinely wondering if she wanted to stay in the marriage or not.
Naturally, Doug panicked, but his attempts to reach out were met with silence.
I reached out to her immediately and she didn't want to talk. She said, I want to talk. Whenever we talk, it never goes well. Don't want any communication.
Doug immediately started searching for answers, guidance, and anything that could make sense of what was happening, which led into my videos. And right away, one message hit him like a ton of bricks. One that would change how we handled everything that came next.
When they need space, give them space. Don't chase them. Give them space. Let them have whatever space they need. I maintained radio silence for the most part. What I did was she would text me. And when she texted, I would respond. But I never reached out to her. I never initiated the conversation. And I would respond very cordially. And
He'd even written her a long, logical response to her email, but something told him not to send it. And that single decision might have stopped divorce.
Yeah, the reason why that is, right, is because like even if you address everything logically, right, in that emotional space, it wouldn't have probably landed, right? So that was good on you to use your intuition around that.
See, Doug had built an incredible career, but the biggest challenge of his life wasn't behind a desk.
I retired, vice president of sales, 43-year, very successful career. Things were good, but I wasn't able to keep my home life together. When she came home, she had taken her wedding ring off.
Her ring was off, but Doug's transformation had just begun. Because the rings framework isn't just about saving a marriage, it's about rebuilding the man behind it. And the first step is what made his wife finally feel safe enough to open her heart again. Listen how Doug describes it.
I had to take ownership and responsibility for the things that I had done in the past that had hurt her. I'm a mechanical engineer by degree. Okay, so yeah, I've spent my whole education life and my career, working career, solving problems logically. So unplugging from that and getting more plugged into the emotional side of it and understanding what her thought process is. And a big part of that was just taking responsibility for, hey, I know I screwed up. I know I didn't respond well to this. I know I need to change how I react. So I think that was big.
The first principle in this framework is responsibility restored. It means approaching the marriage with humility and owning the part of the pain that you caused without defending, explaining, or fixing. When you do this, something powerful happens. Her body registers safety within it, right? Because for the first time, she's seeing you seeing her.
When it comes to ownership, it's a perspective, right? It's not like a factual thing. What stops a lot of guys from taking 100% ownership is the fact that she also did things, that she's not a perfect human being. So how did you kind of displace that and say, no, I'm just going to look at my own behavior? How did you step into that?
A lot of men get stuck right here. They think to themselves, why should I take the blame for everything? But responsibility doesn't equal blame or guilt or shame, okay? It is leadership. It's saying to yourself, I don't control her choices, but I can control mine. And that's exactly what Doug embodied.
What I said was, this is a journey. I'm not going to get there overnight. And, you know, I appreciate the trust that you put in me and allowing me to go down this journey. but I'm going to also need your patience because I'm not going to get there right away. I'm not going to be perfect. And
Mm.
I'm still going to stumble. I'm still going to trip up every once in a while. And when I do, let's talk about it.
Having that humility, it makes her feel safe, right? It's more of an intuitive thing, I think, for women that when a man doesn't take full responsibility, she's like, well, he's not going to change then, right?
Once you stop proving her right and start showing you're real, her guard lowers. She sees a man who can lead himself. That humble lens primes you for the next principle fast. Hundreds of men inside of our program point to this as the turning point. When you apply this, tense moments become openings, openings for connection that you never thought were possible. Doug sums it up nicely.
Realizing, first of all, defining my own frame,
Yes.
and understanding what that needs to be from a masculine perspective, as well as just from understanding her emotional responses perspective, and
Mm.
making sure that I didn't get sucked into it as well. Um, and that was probably the biggest lesson for me.
The principle here is inner frame. It means staying grounded and calm when emotions rise. You see, her nervous system mirrors yours. This means if you lose control emotionally, then so does she. This chaos of emotions makes her feel unsafe, and therefore, she loses trust and begins to associate you with the negative feelings. But when you stay composed, right? Even when she's heated and it feels like she's just attacking you, jabbing you, stabbing at you, criticizing you, disrespecting, her body reads that as safety when you're calm, okay? Think of a lighthouse in a brutal storm. The waves crashing against the shores, the winds howling, yet the light, it stays consistent and steady, and it pierces through the storm to guide the person home. That's what she needs from you. A man that can see her storms and remain grounded and unemotional. You create your own inner strength and safety, and therefore, she follows that. When Doug stopped reacting and started leading from presence instead of panic, he became the calm that she was attracted to.
And I still have to remind myself to be calm, be empathetic, listen to understand. Don't listen to respond, listen to understand. Um, and then make sure that I remain focused.
Doug describes listening to understand, which captures the essence of inner framework. Staying grounded by showing genuine curiosity from her perspective, instead of getting swept up in her emotions, okay?
Defining frame first is there's so many ways to define it, but it's the way you interpret the moment, right? Based on your internal beliefs, right? What's behind the eyes, right? Your beliefs, your perceptions. Because like you can have two separate men, two different frames. They receive the same response from their wife, but because one guy he is thinking, oh, it's my responsibility. Her anger is actually pain. These different kind of beliefs versus this guy, she's jabbing me, she's attacking me, like I did nothing wrong. Completely different visual like beliefs behind the eyes or frame, and they're gonna have completely different outputs because of that, right? And so it's important to understand like that your frame are your beliefs, are your perceptions, and a lot of times we shift those within the program. And not having a reactive frame, if we want to make it a binary process, like there's the guy who's reactive, like she's doing this, so I'm going to defend, I'm going to get logical, I'm going to do all this stuff, right? Versus the other guy who's calm and attentive and holds his frame, right? Keeps it
Right?
stable. Even if you think of a stable frame, she can feel safe with a stable frame, right? And that's what ultimately what strength is. And that's another form of your masculinity that lets her feel kind of relaxed.
But how do you become that lighthouse when it's been your MO to become reactive for so many years, decades even? You know, it's hard to slow down what's been wired in your brain for years. So I asked Doug that same exact question, and his answer was a perfect example.
Was there one belief or were there a couple beliefs around relationships or around her behavior or something that you shifted in your frame that led to the results that you can think of?
I think just remaining calm. Her tone was something that she would say to me all the time. Your tone, and
Mm,
and she would ask me something, or maybe there was a question about something, and according to her, I would just snap. I would snap a response that sounded condescending and nasty to her. And I didn't hear myself doing that. To
yeah.
me, in my mind, all I did was answer your question.
Yeah.
That's it.
See, Doug didn't realize, like most men don't, that his tone was doing so much damage. A little eye contact, the way his body posture was like this versus opened up. It wasn't just his words, it was his energy. You know, the edge in his voice told her that he didn't feel safe and therefore she didn't feel safe. Once he caught that pattern, everything changes. He slowed down, he softened his delivery, and the woman he used to brace himself around started opening up again.
I said, I realize that this has not been a safe space for you to express your feelings and emotions. And I'm going to change that because I want you to feel that it's a safe space. And she actually got teared up and teared. It's like, oh man, I got on a good note with that one. She knew that I was serious about it, and it really touched off a spot where it was very emotional for her.
You're actually touching on something that I don't think I've ever really gone deep on, which is super important. And I think a lot of times when that pattern between you and your wife has been so habitual over the years that you probably learned these patterns before your wife. Maybe you saw it with your parents or early relationships before your marriage or whatever it is, that it's so automatic that you honestly don't see it.
Mhm.
Right. And that's the beauty of like actually pausing and reflecting on yourself and being like, okay, well, am I right? And then like, and catching yourself in that moment and being like, that was actually a little sarcastic. Yeah. I guess I am a little bit upset. And that's emotional intelligence, right?
But once you define your inner frame, the next thing is that you need to learn how to use it under pressure. And this next principle shows you how to turn tension into trust and conflict into connection. It brings the kind of closeness with your wife that you've been longing for.
We're sitting in the middle of this restaurant. I'm trying to fight back the tears because I was so emotional about it because I wasn't expecting it. It totally caught me off guard.
Now listen to Doug describe a moment that used to catch him off guard.
You talked about tests a lot.
Mm,
She'll throw a test at you.
yep.
And I had a test that came my way and it didn't expect, this one just caught me off guard. And it's something really little. Literally, we've been outside working. We came in, we were both hungry. And she said, I'll make us a couple of sandwiches. Perfect. Sounds great to me. And she likes white bread. I like grain bread, right? So she goes to the loaf of grain bread and she says, "Oh, looks like this loaf is bad. We didn't eat it fast enough. We're going to have to pick another bread." And instead of saying, "Oh, okay," I got up, I walked over, and I physically checked the bread for myself, right? And her reaction was, "What? You don't trust me?" And it was like right at that moment, I was like, just said these were going to come, and there's one right there. Yeah, it was just one of those little test moments, right? I've learned to not react that way now. I've learned to
Yeah.
be more trusting and take her word for things and not question. So even if I don't think she's right, I've learned to just not push back so hard.
The N in the rings framework is navigating her tests. See, her tests show up everywhere. If she's not connecting with you, she is testing you. It is completely binary. This is when she questions your judgment. It's her sharp tone. It's a test even when she threatens divorce. So when Doug's wife took her ring off, that was also a test. Now, women do this for one reason and one reason alone. She is subconsciously asking herself, are you whole without me? Passing the test means simply responding from love over fear. So what does fear look like? Well, fear is trying to change her mind. It is shutting down. It is calling her emotional, blaming her trauma. It is logically defending yourself. When you respond from love, she calms down and you pass her tests. Now, there are 3 levels of ways to respond to them properly. I will give you a better breakdown later, but for now, just know that not reacting is the answer to her tests, okay? It can mean responding with calm or a touch of humor. And she sees a man who won't be pulled off his center. A man who loves her and is okay no matter what she displays, as long as it's not disrespectful. Now that's when her guard lowers, her body relaxes, and connection opens up again. Now in the past, even Doug's little sandwich moment, why don't you trust me, would have made him get defensive and fall into her frame. And this is something that most men struggle with. But if you want to avoid reactions of provoking and disconnecting and snapping back, or lecturing or matching her tone, just basically falling into her frame, then you need to listen to this.
Because the thing is, ultimately, Doug, is I was thinking about this yesterday. When it comes to tests, it's like if you crumble to her words, whether this is actually real or not, in her perception, if you crumble to her words, how can she trust that you'll pass the test of the world and keep her safe from these outside external things that happen, right?
There's a scene in this movie, Blue Valentine, that shows what falling into her frame looks like. Dean's wife is cold, distant, and emotionally checked out. But instead of staying grounded, he panics, pleads, and starts to fall apart.
Tell me what to do.
I don't know what to do.
Tell me how I should be.
I don't know.
Now that's what happens when fear takes over. He's chasing her approval instead of leading with calm. And when you do that, her body shuts down even more. She goes inward, gets protective. And that's what Doug discovered. The same moments that used to explode now dissolve in seconds because he is no longer feeding that fire. And it led to a huge win, a moment, that pure emotion that he'll never forget.
We went out to dinner with another couple about a month or so into the program, and I didn't even notice. We sat down, we got there early, we are waiting on the other couple, and she just said, "Hey, look, I put my wedding ring back on because I see the efforts that you're making. I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm seeing changes in you already." And I was overcome with emotion. I mean, we're sitting in the middle of this restaurant. And I'm trying to fight back the tears because I was so emotional about it because I wasn't expecting it. It totally caught me off guard.
Just to
Yeah,
clarify,
that's,
she put the wedding ring back on after a month of your work.
yeah,
Wow.
she did.
I want to pause for a second right here and say, if you need additional support and you want to get results like Doug, the first thing he did was he set up a call with our team down below by clicking on the link and setting up that free call with our marriage evaluators. But make sure you are fully ready and invested to do something different and take action. If that is you, click the link and set up the free call with our team. Now, I mentioned earlier that the next principle is crucial because deep down, she's waiting for you to do this. This is the one that restores her trust in you.
How do you know the trust has come back?
She told me.
Listen to our conversation.
I also initiated a thing with her I call a weekly check-in. Once a week on Thursdays, I say, hey, it's been a week. How am I doing? Where are we at? Right? I don't want things to fester if they're bothering you now. And so I'm trying to be, again, proactive in heading off any problems.
So that's essentially the leadership, right? The masculine leadership that we talk about in the program, right? And that constant check-in is what a lot of guys honestly kind of lost with their marriages, right? They like go through the motions of the kids and the job and everything else, and they just like don't check in with wife. It's always about logic, right?
right.
And so actually checking in with the relationship, that and having a cadence around that, it's a consistent cadence. It shows your leadership. It shows your attunement to her, and kind of like you are the steward of the relationship, right? The one taking care of it and leading it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Now, that's what guiding leadership looks like. It is setting the tone and rhythm of the relationship again. You're no longer waiting for her to bring up things or tell you what's wrong. You're taking initiative on the little things. Now, this doesn't sound like a big deal, but to her, it speaks volumes with how often you think about her. You see, there's this quote that really exemplifies all of this. How you do anything is how you do everything. She needs you to be mindful, not mindless, of her mental load, her barometer of stress, okay? So many men learn to preoccupy their own minds with work and other issues because they think they have a check mark and everything's stable in their relationship. It's not falling apart. Because as men, we only fix problems. However, when you proactively take measures to ensure the relationship is good, then it never falls apart. I need you to imagine your relationship with her as mental hygiene. Imagine everyone in the world only brushed their teeth when their breath smelled really bad and other people could smell it, right? That'd be awful. But that's how most men treat their marriages. They only fix it when it's already falling apart. Instead, I want you to devote only 30 minutes a day to thinking, how can I help her out? How can I improve the relationship? What's one little small action I could do to make her life easier and to grow connection between us? I mean, you spend 8+ hours at work. So how could you not spend 30 minutes focusing on the one thing that's so important to you? Because when you do that, that changes everything. And Doug's simple check-in was proof of that. And then she ended up saying these words.
How do you know the trust has come back? You said that was your biggest one. What was the sign of that has come back?
She told me.
She told you verbally. Hey, my trust has come back.
Yeah. I mean, that was probably the biggest sign for me.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of little things, she didn't second guess me on things anymore. She took me at my word for things. Just, little signs that reinforce the verbiage.
Yeah. So, I mean, those signs that you just listed right there, that she's kind of falling into her feminine because you're going into your masculine, right? That's the leadership. So she follows that. Beautiful.
Right.
Now, I understand through polls on the channel that some of you aren't at that place yet. You're at the place where there's so much space she doesn't even want to talk to you. She's asking for resistance and she maybe is even out of the house. So I'll give you another resource at the end of this to help those guys. But at this point in Doug's journey, his wife was already softening. She was willing to re-engage. But if she's not there yet, don't force it. Your leadership right now isn't about initiating talks. Right? It's about holding the direction by showing consistency through your actions, not your words. And then when she starts to feel that steadiness again, she'll be the one who checks in with you. And that ties into this final part of the rings framework, the one that actually draws her back without needing to chase, prove, or add pressure. Listen to Doug talk about it.
When I first came in, it was with full intentions of, I got to do this to save my marriage, right? That's why I came in.
Yep.
And then as I worked my way through the modules in the program, I did realize that, hey, this is not just for her that I'm doing this for. In the long run, this will make me a better person. It'll make me a better husband. It'll make me a better elder at the church. It'll just make me a better person all the way around. And as we got not very far into the program, I actually told her that. I told her that, look, I'm doing this for me. I'm working on me. I can't fix you, but I can fix me.
Now, I'll tell you how his wife responded to all that in a minute. But the principle here with self-growth, it's about when you focus on the process of growing yourself, not focus on the outcome, okay, the goal of where you're going. Your growth doesn't depend on her response. And when you start living from that place, your energy changes. You walk taller. You really do, right? You're no longer anxious. You emanate this positive energy and charisma people they pick up on. And that's what quietly pulls her back, because she can sense that you no longer need her approval to stand strong.
The guys who have the least success are like, I'm going to do this because for the kids, right? Which is not bad motivation. Then I'm going to do it for my wife because she's my soulmate. She's my love of my life, best friend, or whatever. But the best reason is I'm going to do this for myself or for God, right? Like I'm going to become a better man. And so we talk about like the process versus the outcome. A lot of guys come in, I'm here for the outcome. I'm here to save my marriage, which is not a bad motivation, but the best motivation that keeps you going, makes her feel safe, is like, I'm doing it for myself.
Listen to how she responds when you do this.
And she responded very positively and said, yeah, and it's up to me to fix me.
Mm.
So I view that as, okay, that's a good spot. We're in a good spot if she's got that mindset.
And that's the beauty of it. When Doug stopped trying to fix his wife, okay, trying to change her, okay, notice how you do that. And he actually took responsibility. That's when she started to take responsibility for herself. And that cycle of blame turned into partnership again, okay? That cohesive win-win relationship that you're striving for. And it wasn't only his wife that noticed the changes and wanted to follow his lead.
It wasn't just my relationship with my wife that started to change. It was my relationship with other people that started to change. As I mentioned, I'm an elder at my church. And as I went through this program, I had other men come up to me at church and say, hey, I don't know what's going on with you, but you just seem to take this huge level in wisdom. You've taken this jump in wisdom. And if you don't mind, I have a few things in my life that I'd like to talk to you about if you've got some time to spend with me one-on-one. And so I ended up, I've got actually 4 guys now that I meet with different times throughout the week. And it's not anything complex. It's just they saw changes in me and they liked what they saw, so they reached out to me for help. That's kind of the ultimate testament, really.
Now, for the men who are in the early stages where the wife still wants space, highly recommend this video on space. And here's a video on tests. Again, set up a call with our team down below. If you want some free help, just make sure you're fully committed and invested to do something different and make a change. If that's you, we can help you out. Cheers.